This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And warm up for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for us. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Jon Jansen. He does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler. We have to talk about what has went wrong with the Philadelphia Phillies. Man, 10-game losing streak now for them, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about what has went wrong for the New York Mets, as that'll put him in a little bit of a better mood, and I'm going to get his thoughts on a few teams that have gotten it right thus far. We can't be all negative, so we'll take a look at some of the upside teams with him as well in the final segment. Gonna get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, boy, did we have a fun day of baseball on Friday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
5-3, the Braves get the job done against the Philadelphia Phillies. Andrew Painter gets painted with a loss. 5 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Ronald Acuna Jr., just his second home run of the season, takes him deep. From there, Kyle Backus, a scoreless inning out of the bullpen, coupled with Tim Meza, a scoreless inning out of the bullpen, Chase Shogert, and out of the bullpen scoreless. And for Grant Holmes, not necessarily at his sharpest, gives up a pair of home runs. Bryce Harper, 6th home run season. Trey Turner down for what? He's had his struggles, his 3rd. But for the Phillies, they leave 11 men on base. And from there, Aaron Bummer, Yoel Payams, and Robert Suarez all end a scoreless inning. So 8-18 for the Phillies. They have 10 straight losses and 8 wins this far this season. That is not where you want to be. And after 2 straight wins, the Mets, they are back to losing. They lose at home to the Colorado Rockies, 4-3 the final for the Rockies. They get a really good start out of Michael Lorenzen. 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. From there, Jaden Hill, he does give up a pair of runs in a 1/3 of an inning. Antonio Senzatella gets a save. 1 2/3 innings scoreless. He's actually been amazing in the bullpen for his team. And Freddie Peralta, not a bad start here. 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. From there, Sean Manaea, long relief, 3 1/3 innings. He punches out 7, but gives up 2 runs along the way for the Rockies. They actually leave 11 men on base, but they find a way to get the job done in this one. The White Sox find a way to get the job done as well. 5-4 the final. Dueling openers in this one. PJ Poulin, 5 outs to begin the game for the Washington Nationals scoreless, and then Miles Michaelis, as a bulk guy, gives up a pair of runs in 3 2/3 innings, taken deep by Montaka Murakami. Now his 11th home run of the season. He has been incredible. Richard Dickey Lovelady, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then he had 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, given up by Riley Cornelio in his MLB debut. Not sure why they put him in such a pressure spot, but they did. And for Brian Hudson as the opener for the White Sox, scoreless inning, Eric Fetty Wap, 3 runs allowed, only 1 of which was earned in 5 2/3 innings. Pair of errors out there, including catcher's interference by Edgar Quieros. Had a difficult season, to say the least. Sean Newcomb from there, and out of the bullpen squirrels, Jordan Leisure leisurely gives up a solo home run, as that was Brady House getting his 3rd home run season. But from there, Sir Anthony Dominguez, scoreless inning to be able to get the job done there. being able to get the job done. The Baltimore Orioles, 10-3 the final. 30 total hits in this game, 20 for the Orioles, 10 for the Red Sox. Red Sox just couldn't cash in. You had a grand total of 17 men on base. And for 30 hits, the teams won a combined 2 of 16 with men in scoring position, which is hilarious. Brian Bayo gives up 8 runs in 3 1/3 innings, 13 total hits, and 5 home runs. Going deep, Adley Rutschman, 2nd and 3rd home runs of the season. Gunnar Henderson, 8th home run of the season. Kobe Mayo, this would come off of Giovanni Morin, his 3rd home run of the season. Samuel Basayo, 4th home run season. Dylan Beavers, his 2nd. They had to put up on the scoreboard that they had run out of fireworks for home runs, so that was interesting. And then Brandon Young gives up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings to give up a home run to Weiler Abreu. Wiles out for his 4th home run of the campaign. Yunier Cano, don't you know he got you an out of the bullpen. Squirrels. Andrew Kittredge, a scoreless inning, and then 2 scoreless innings out of Cameron Foster for the Orioles to be able to get that one in. And for the Red Sox, 9-17 thus far this season. Boy, that has been rough. And speaking of rough, Max Scherzer's last 2 seasons, 8-6, Cleveland Guardians get the job done over the Toronto Blue Jays. Max Scherzer gets 7 outs and he gives up 7 runs, all of which was 1 strikeout shy of 3,500. He did not get a strikeout in this game, but he gave up 3 homers. Daniel Schneemann, 3rd home run of the campaign, and then Anel Martinez, 4th and 5th home runs of the season. From there, the bullpen was not bad. Joe Mantiply, 5 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Tommy Nance, scoreless inning. Spencer Miles, he gives up 1 run as he was trotted out there for 2 innings. Mason Flaherty, Brandon Fisher, both on his scoreless inning. And Gavin Williams, serious regression here. 6 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, including 2 home runs. He still gets the win, as Jesus Sanchez gets his 3rd home run of the campaign. And then you have home run number 4 of the season from Mr. Kazuma Akamoto, but too little too late, as Max Scherzer, he really gave it up in this day. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, nothing given up by them. 6-0. They can take down the Milwaukee Brewers. For Paul Skeens, this is what he was looking for. 7 shutout innings, gives up 1 hit, and Mason Montgomery, Isaac Manson, they both turn a scoreless inning out of the bullpen. For the Brewers, just 1 total hit in this game, and 2 errors and 1 hit. That's not a winning combination. Brandon Woodruff, 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, including a home run, as it was home run number 1 of the career of Colton Griffin. He's had his struggles, but found it on this day. And then from there, 3 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up by Shane Drone, the big piece that they got in the Red Sox deal, as there were a pair of errors out there in the field that hurt his cause. Being able to help the cause of the Cincinnati Reds was a rain delay. After the rain delay, they were down by a count of, I believe, 5-2 going into it. They get the job done, 9-8 the final. Framber Valdez, 2 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings before the rain comes in, and he does give up a home run in this one to Matt McClain, who gets his 1st home run of the season, and then McClain, 2nd home run of the season off of Will Vest. And then, how about this, from one Mr. Nathaniel Lowe. He gets Lowe for his 1st and 2nd home runs as a Red. He goes deep off of Kyle Finnegan, and then off of Kenley Jansen in walk-off fashion for Finnegan. So home run allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Will Vest 3 runs, 2 of which were given up in 2/3 inning. Brian Herter out of the bullpen, but he gives up an unearned run. Derek Hill squirrel sang, and then Kenley Jansen gives up the walk-off winner. Andrew Abbott was not sharp in this game. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. Gives up a pair of bombs as Javi Baez gets his 2nd home run of the season. Riley Green, his 3rd. Gary Carpenter off of Tony Santillan, his 6th home run of the season. Santillan gives one up to Spencer Torkelson, his 3rd. As for Santillan, 3 runs allowed in an inning, but Graham Ashcraft, Brocken Rolberg, Pierce Johnson, along Kyle Nicholas, all turn a scoreless inning. So the Reds now 17-9 this season, and for the Houston Astros, now 10-17 this season. They get destroyed by the New York Yankees, 12-4 the final. Lance McCullers Jr., 7 runs, 5 of which were earned in 5 innings, gives up a pair of home runs. And then Colton Gordon, he gives up 5 runs in 2 innings. He gives up a pair of home runs as well. Ryan McMahon, 2nd home run season. Jazz Chisholm, he gets Jazzy, 2nd home run season. Jose Calabreo, 2nd home run season. Ben Rice, 9th home run season. Good news is Brian Abreu and Jane Murray gave you scoreless innings, but by then way too little, way too late. Will Warren, he gets a job done. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Fernando Cruz will give up a pair of solo home runs as you had Mr. Yinier Diaz get home run number 2 of the season, and then home run number 1 for Braden Shomaki. I believe I said that correct. Might be Shoemake. He gets his 1st, former New York Yankee, by the way, but from there, Ryan Yarbrough, 2 scoreless innings, so a nice winner for the New York Yankees, who are now 17-9. They're silently putting together a nice season for the Seattle Mariners. They get the job done over the St. Louis Cardinals. This by a count of 3-2. Andre 3000 Palante does not give up 3,000 runs. He gives up just 3 in 5 1/3 innings, including a home run. Josh Naylor, he nails his 3rd home run season, and George Kirby was nails as well. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. Matt Brash, Andres Munoz both turn a scoreless inning. Gabe Spire, Edward Bizzardo, they combine for a scoreless inning. Meanwhile, Justin Brule, scoreless inning out of him. George Soriano, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Gordon Gassefo was able to give you 2 scoreless, but damage by then had been done, and the A's were able to do a lot of damage to the Walker Texas Rangers. 8-1 the final. Nathan Eovaldi, 6 runs allowed in 6 innings. He gives up 4 home runs. Cal Quantrill, yes, that Kyle Quantrill, he gave up a home run himself, 2 runs over the course of 3 innings, going deep for the A's in this game. You had Zach Olof, his first home run of the season. Tyler Soderstrom, his third. Nick Kurtz, he goes deep for home run number 5. And then you had home runs number 3 and 4 of the season for one Mr. Carlos Cortez. And for Luis Severino, he continues to be great on the road. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 2/3 innings. Hogan Harris, Justin Cerner both give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Luis Medina was able to turn a scoreless inning of his own. Be able to turn a lot of scoreless innings was the Tampa Bay Rays. 6-2, they're able to take down the Minnesota Twins. Good start here from Drew Rasmussen. Gives up a home run over the course of 6 innings. He was taken deep by Brooks Lee, 4th home run of the season, and then too little, too late, but Royce Lewis, fresh off the injury list, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Cole Sulzer, Brian Baker, they both on a scoreless inning. Trevor Martin gave up that home run. He gives up a 1 run over the course of his inning work. And Taj Bradley, while he was playing games, he looked more like Milton, giving up 6 runs in 6 1/3 innings, and he was taken deep 4 times. Jonathan Aranda, 5th and 6th home runs of the season. Junior Caminero, 7th and 8th home runs this season. From there, Anthony Banda, who's got an ERA above a 9. Pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Yay, verily there, and Eric Gorze, a scoreless inning of his own, but by then, damage had been very much done, and being able to do some damage as well. The Kansas City Royals, they get a 6-3 win over the LA Angels. For the Halos, you had Yusei Kikuchi. Well, I say he was rough in this game. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Sean Anderson, Ryan Zephyrion, both give you a scoreless inning. Drew Pomeranz, he has struggled. He gives up a run in an inning, and Noah Cameron does give up 3 runs over the course of 6 1/3 innings. And the Royals entered in this day dead last in terms of bullpen ERA. They were good in this day, though. Matt Strom, Lucas Erceg, both give you a scoreless inning. Nick Mears, Daniel Lynch, they both turn an out of the bullpen scoreless. For the Angels, they managed to somehow go 3 of 8 with men in scoring position and only produce 3 runs, so that was interesting to say the least. And then in the late slate, you saw the Chicago Cubs find a way to be able to get the job done against the LA Dodgers. As I'm doing this, I have to have this up at midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern. It is currently 6-4, and for the Dodgers, they got a great start out of Emmett Sheehan. He gives up 1 run over the course of 6 1/3 innings. From there, the bullpen, they just completely light this game on fire. Alex Vesia, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Blake Trine, he gives up a run in his inning of work, but he would give up a home run to Alex Bregman, 3rd home run in the campaign, and then Dansby Swanson with the game tied 4-4 in the 9th inning. Home run number 6 of the campaign off Tanner Scott. He was looking good prior to this game, but that was rough. And then for Jameson Taillon, this was rough, giving up home run number 3 to Will Smith, who gets jiggy with it off of him. He gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. But then you would have from there some good long relief out of Ryan Rolson. He will give you 3 scoreless innings for the Cubs to be able to find a way to get it done, and currently doing this as the game is in the 9th inning. But Miami Marlins up by a count of 9-4. They should be able to get the job done, and you've already got the over. So barring something extreme, because Adrian Hauser, boy, he was extremely bad, it is going to be a Miami Marlins win to get them back to 500. For Adrian Hauser, he pitched more like Doogie Howser. 8 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, gives up a pair of bombs as going deep for the Miami Marlins. Connor Norby, 3rd home run of the season, and then Liam Hicks, his 5th home run of the season. Jungle Lee would go deep off of Lake Bakar for the San Francisco Giants. 2nd home run of the season at Sandy Alcantara. Not amazing, not bad. 3 runs allowed in 6 innings. Bakar, as of now, he's given up that home run in 2 innings. We'll see if he pitches the 9th or not. And he did have Caleb Killian come in for a squirrel signing, and Ryan Baruchi pitched the 9th for the San Francisco Giants. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been an overwhelming season thus far, and the over rate with the 2 games late on Friday pushes it over 52%. 50 overs, 45 unders, and we've had 1 push along the way. Favorites on the money line, they have been having themselves a nice little bit of a run here recently. 57-39 on the money line, hitting at darn near 60%, but overall for the season, been a little bit rough for them. 205 and 167 on the money line, hitting at right around about 55 or so percent, and among those 205 favorites, 34 failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the over rate, a little bit over 53%, 197 overs, 172 unders, and along the way, I believe we have 11 pushes. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting tournament-wise. Coming up next, let's talk with our good friend Jon Jansen over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler, right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Jon Jansen. He does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler, doing a great job looking at so many different things. He does a great job on the college football front, so the NFL draft was a big time for him. I know that he's doing great work, taking a look day in and day out at this great sport of baseball. All the happenings out there in Philadelphia, especially with the 76ers trying to survive and advance in the playoffs and so much more. And you're able to follow him on the old Twitter /X at the letter J, / name Jansen, the number 34 altogether. And John, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit better circumstances for the Phillies, but yeah, it's good. It's good to talk baseball with you always, no matter what.
It's great to talk baseball with you, and I know that it's a sore subject, so I'm very sorry, and I'm very appreciative that you're here, but we are doing this as we do not know what happened on Friday. Right now, that game is going on. It's 0-0, so we shall see what happens there. But, I mean, this is going to be a very, very simple question that I'm sure that you could take about an hour to answer. But that said, what in the world has gone wrong for the Philadelphia Phillies that led into the 9-game losing streak entering into Friday?
Yeah, and barring maybe a couple of players, like Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber are doing well. And that's the thing, Bryce Harper is doing well. Outside of that, everything, and I mean, when I say everything, I mean everything stinks right now. Their starting pitching is awful. Christopher Sanchez even just got lit up. After a few starts to start this season, we were like, okay, he looks great. Like maybe he could be in Cy Young conversations. He has looked bad. All the way down to Aaron Nola. Jesus Luzardo has some really concerning metrics to start the season, especially with his fastball. Like there is all kinds of stuff. They just released Taijuan Walker. He had an ERA over 9 this season. And the bullpen has been awful. This was a revamped bullpen. I know the Phillies, you could say, ran it back, and that's mostly the case. They really changed a lot of things up with their bullpen. Brought a lot of new guys in, and it's just not working. None of it's working. Even Jose Alvarado, who's back after a suspension from last year, he looks awful. Everybody stinks. Like maybe there's a silver lining in that is they all can't be bad for this long, but it's just right now it's a concoction of it all. It's not just 1 or 2 things to look at with the Mets. It was mostly their lineup with their 12-game losing streak. This 9-game losing streak is bad because it's absolutely everything outside of like maybe 2 or 3 players. The bottom of the lineup stinks for the Phillies. That's concerning. Bowman, Stott, who need to step it up in some way, have looked awful this season. Yeah, there's not one direct answer. Like you could point pretty much anywhere on the dartboard and you can find something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's been relatively rough, and I have picked up on this, and this is not just a 2026 thing, but this is something that I think that you'd agree has been happening in the last few years, and do want to ask you about this. Just why do you think that the Phillies have such demonstrative home and road splits? Because, I mean, if you take a look at this losing streak, sure, a few of those losses came at home, but it's mostly been on the road, and it's been a theme for this team over the last few seasons.
Yeah, it has been. They definitely get some juice at home. I feel like the splits have been each year a little bit different, which I think does skew a little bit more towards home. But yeah, on the road, especially the West Coast, I know that's been a really big thing, a really big trend for them, West Coast stuff. But so far this year, I don't even know if they're good at home or on the road at this point. They just stink everywhere. But then certainly, like, they have liked Citizens Bank Park. I know last year they were a little bit better on the road, and that really helped out for a 96-win record. But this year, it's just like they're not getting any of that. They're not getting, hey, we're improving in this area. We may be a little bit down here, but we're improving. This year, they lost 3 series at home all year last year. They lost their first, I think, 3 series at home to start the season. Or at least they have lost already 3, probably more at this point, series at home. Everything is bad. It's not like one area is making up for another. Nothing is doing that at this point. That I think maybe is the concern moving forward is like, okay, you already had these issues, but you could have made up for it in other areas. Now you can't do that. So is this just like everything that could have gone bad last year or like in previous years, these really bad things that they had, holes in their team? Is it coming back to catch up to them? And maybe that's a fair question to ask at this point. Look, I'm not raising the panic alarm too much yet. To me, the month of May is the most important month for this Phillies team than any other month in recent years in the regular season. This is the most important month coming up for them because a lot could change if nothing does change.
Yep, absolutely. And while the Atlanta Braves have certainly been running away with the division, there's been some company in terms of the misery out there in the NL East, as Jon Jansen, who does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And recognize that as we're recording this, the Mets are actually on a winning streak. We haven't seen too much of that, but they have been just as bad as this team. As a matter of fact, they've lost 12 straight games. How do you take a look at this NL East right now? Because the Braves, they very clearly look like the top team right now. They are running and hiding with the division. Everyone else has been pretty awful thus far, with the Miami Marlins actually being somewhat respectable.
Yeah, that's one thing that the Mets and Phillies both need to be careful about. I know we kind of talked about this the last time we talked, but it's even more so now. The Mets and Phillies have issues, and they need to figure it out, and they need to figure it out fast. Right now, the Atlanta Braves are going to be running away with it, and the Braves look like the best team in the NL East. But two other teams, when it comes to OPS in Major League Baseball so far, the Washington Nationals are 5th in OPS. The Miami Marlins are 9th. The Phillies and the Mets, the Phillies all the way down to 26th, and the Mets, I'm seeing at 30th. We're seeing some pretty big splits between the Mets and Phillies and the rest of the National League East. The Atlanta Braves are 2nd in OPS. So we're like 3 of the top 10 teams in OPS in all of baseball right now are from the National League East, and 2 of those teams don't involve the Phillies and the Mets. They're actually at the bottom. So yeah, that's like the danger territory of it so far. Is most years, if you would have started us still in the NL East, it's fine. You can beat up on the Nats, you can beat up on the Marlins, and even last year, because of the injuries, you could have really beaten up on the Braves. You can't do that anymore. This is a really competitive division, and I think you're in trouble if you don't get it together now. So I think the Mets and Phillies are both in danger territory. That's why I think May, especially, I know from the Philly side of things, May becomes important because, like, if you don't get it together, I think, like, manager could be fired, players, you could be looked at the trade, moved. I think you really blew up a core that was like, this is the last year. This was for the Phillies. Like, this is it. If you can't get it done, things have to change. And right now, I think they're desperate enough. If they're in a hole to start June, like, heads are going to roll. But that's why it's League East is tough. And the Mets are in the same spot as the Phillies. The Mets have a lineup problem, and they can't out-hit anyone, and their starting pitching is good, and their pitching is overall good, but it can't make up for being that bad as a lineup. And they're spending a lot of money on their lineup, too. But I know Pete Alonso definitely has his faults. I don't think Pete Alonso is like this amazing slugger, but he was a guy who could comfortably hit like in the 800s, maybe close to like 850. And that's a guy in their lineup that they really liked. Like, they're not getting any of that from anyone. And Bo Bichette doesn't even replace what Pete Alonso did. They're in trouble. I would say even more so than the Phillies. Phillies, I can see some silver linings in it. Christopher Sanchez can get better. Zach Wheeler's coming back. The bottom of the lineup has been like absolutely dreadful. It can get better. But the Mets, I think they just have to deal with a bad lineup. I don't know if there's enough to make up for.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And here's what I've been sort of noticing with both of these struggling teams. They did lose some core pieces in the offseason. I recognize for the Phillies, it was much less than a guy like a Pete Alonso. For the Mets, which that was huge. But I mean, even for the Phillies, losing a guy like a De Castellanos, who was part of so many of those playoff runs as well. Do you think that part of the struggles that we've been seeing is, for lack of better terms, not necessarily the numbers that you see in terms of a spreadsheet or something like that, but just the camaraderie and missing some of these veterans that they've had in past years?
It's not only letting Castellanos go as a veteran. It's that you were hoping you have guys that were really young when this first run started. Bryson Stott, Alec Bohm. They're older now. They should be veterans. There are guys that you should be relying on a little bit more, and you can't. And then adding on top of that, you don't have a cleanup hitter. Like, this is more, the front office maybe should have done something more, but I think it's more on, there used to be something called the daycare for the Phillies, and Brandon Marsh was a part of that. And Brandon Marsh is doing well, so I'll give him credit. But the thing is, you have to platoon him. He can't hit lefties, and they've had to hit him more against lefties because everybody else is bad. It's not that Castellanos is gone. It's that, like, you had 3 or 4 years with Castellanos for some of your young guys to really step up and become veterans. They aren't. They are guys that are still struggling, finding their way in the major leagues. Alec Boehm, to me, and I want to be sensitive to what is happening off the field with him. I don't know if you know and everybody else, but obviously it's been reported that like his parents are taking away money and he's suing his parents. There's a lot of off the field issues. And I think that absolutely is fair enough to say about it, but you cannot put a Major League Baseball player that has his numbers out on the field every day. You cannot put a guy like Bryson Stott with the numbers that he's having out in the field every day, and they have to. These are guys that were supposed to be the veterans. I think that's where the issues are. They just have not been able to develop. And like Justin Crawford, he's a rookie and like he's already done some good and I think he's going to be good. The hope maybe was Aiden Miller, but he has had back issues and that doesn't look like it's going to be resolved anytime soon. And even if he would have to still play more because he hasn't played that much in the minor leagues, it's more of these guys just haven't stepped up that they've developed. And like, yes, I get that maybe the Phillies could have gotten a Bo Bichette, but Bo Bichette looks awful right now with the Mets. Like these aren't fixes. The fix is trying to develop guys, and they haven't been able to do it. I think to me that's been their Achilles heel, and even more so, it's just getting worse, and those guys have been getting worse.
Yep, they certainly have, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the East moving forward, and that's certainly something that's going to be very well documented. And John, we've been all negative on this podcast as far as looking at the Phillies, looking at the Mets, so we'll wrap it up by trying to look at something positive. Who's been a pleasant surprise for you in baseball this season? Can be American League, National League, it's your choice here, just a team or two that you've been able to find a little bit of value on, and you're liking the way that they're playing right now.
I do like that they're getting better. I will say the Detroit Tigers, not a surprise, but I remember I went on the pod with you. I'm like, hey, I kind of like what Detroit's doing and weren't really making me look good. They finally put it together. I just like, man, Kevin McGonigal's good, and they seem to have a little bit more oomph in their lineup with them, and so I'm very happy with that. But I don't know. To me, like obviously you can look at like Cincinnati, Chicago, but San Diego kind of surprising me. Like they're one that's always like hanging on by a thread. They always have to chase the Dodgers. And it just felt like there was going to be a year where it just wouldn't come together. And, you know, it was funny, like, man, they just can't keep up. Not only are they keeping up, they look just as good right now. So I would say surprising in that way. It's like, man, anytime you can maybe count out the Padres or think that, like, yes, they aren't the Dodgers. They're playing some great baseball right now. And I think they've put together a really good lineup. They've pieced together a good pitching staff as well. So I would say, like, the Padres coming out of the gate the way they have, I've been really impressed and surprised by it.
Yep, I have been as well. It's been nice to be able to see the Tigers have a little bit of a come up this far, and entire NL Central this far. Man, it has been a good season for them, and it's always a good time when we're chatting with you, my friend. I know you're doing a great job holding it down everything over there in the city of Philadelphia. You do a great job on the football front, baseball front, and so much more. So all the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you can just follow me at JJansen34. We have a Sunday baseball show called the Sunday Lineup, which is presented by the National Sports Card Show. So that's awesome there. Thanks to them for coming on board. But yeah, you can follow me at JJansen34. And again, the Sunday Lineup, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and also a show as well from Parks, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. over on Fox Sports The Gambler, which you can find on the iHeartRadio.
John is doing such a great job out there in the city of Philadelphia, looking at so many different things every single time he joins me. Learned such great insights, did so once again today. So a big thanks to John for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we start tomorrow.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Always a pleasure to be joined by our guy, Jon Jansen, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Hopefully the Phillies turn things around just a little bit for him because, man, that's been rough. But he's been doing a great job in terms of soldiering through it all. He does an amazing job in terms of the entire Philadelphia landscape. And every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. So big thanks to Jon for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and then any interleague games, of course, in time order. Those will be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. The San Francisco Giants play host to the Miami Marlins. Yuri Perez is on the bump for Miami, and Robbie Ray is hit Perez to another start for the Giants. They're between plus 105 to plus 112, minus 125 to minus 132 is that number on the fish. Total on this game is 7.5. Unders minus 115 to minus 120. Overs between even to minus 105, and I did make my total a 7.4, so I'm going to be in on the under. Giants are right now 30th out of 30 teams in terms of runs per game. This will see an uptick, but 2.62 runs per game at home. Very clear that the Rafael Devers deal not working out for them, and they actually do have a few guys that are moving line, like after rough starts of the year, Jung-Ho Lee, Eloy Ramos. Now these guys are earning above a 250, so that's been a little bit more respectable. Matt Chapman sitting above a 275. Luis Reyes continues at about a 300. The problem is the power. Willy Adames has 3 home runs, but I mean the team is averaging just over a half a home run per game right now, so they're going to need to get a little bit more something there. I mean, heck, you've even had Casey Schmidt be able to step up, hitting about a 285, so they're going to need to get a lot more there. Meanwhile, for the Miami Marlins, you've got a lineup of a bunch of guys that have been able to do a solid job in terms of mixing and matching. Xavier Edwards is your main guy, finding a way on over a 400 on base, and one of the better base stealers that you're going to find in the National League. But on top of that, Liam X, 4 home runs, 21 RBI, over a 300 batting average. Javier Sonja, small sample size, but he's hitting above 300. Griffin Conine, I know that he's been dealing with a little bit of injury. When he was out there, he was giving you something, but now you're able to replace him with your main guy, Kyle Stowers, in terms of power. And they've been doing this with guys like Graham Pauley, Roberto Anitas, not necessarily doing the world's greatest job of getting on base. Jacob Marcy as well. For the Marlins, it's been a bullpen that's been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA, but I do think that these guys are going to be able to turn it around, and very quickly as well. You've been able to have the acquisition from the Cardinals and John King supply sub-3 ERA. Blake Bakar as a long guy is pretty solid, and then likes of Pete Fairbanks, Calvin Fauché, Andrew Nardi, Anthony Bender, all last year at a sub-350 ERA. Fairbanks has been relatively rough. Most of these guys have been some. I think positivity is doing there. And then for the Giants, last year they were 4th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They're right around there once again this year, maybe a little bit down, but Matt Gage is giving you a sub-350 ERA. Caleb Killian coming over from the Cubs has really found a home in this bullpen. Ryan Walker a little bit air miss, but he's starting to find it. Keaton Wynn is a good long guy. And then for Robbie Ray, big issue for this guy throughout his career has always been the deep ball along with walks. For his career, he gives up darn near 4 walks per 9 innings, but you look at what he did in 2025, because he's a little bit more of a fly ball pitcher, was significantly better in terms of holding things at home rather than away from home. Away from home, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, about 0.78 home runs per 9 innings at home, so I think that that's big in this ordeal. And then on the flip side for Yuri Perez, he has been just a completely different pitcher when he has been away from home rather than at home. Last season, he gave up 1 home run in about 43 innings at home. He was playing a sub-3 ERA. When he was on the road, that went up to about 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. The ERA was more in that neighborhood, about like a 530, 540, so I do think that that's big to be looking at. I do think that this is going to be a lower scoring game, so I told 7.4, so at the 7.5 and on the under. And for the Giants, I'm a little late up to minus 140 on the money line, made them a minus 141. 903, 904 on the card. The Rockies are on the road. They're facing off against the New York Mets. Kodai Senga is on the bump for the Mets, and Jose Quintana is on the bump for Colorado. Colorado is a pretty sizable underdog here, plus 160 to plus 175. Meanwhile, minus 195 to minus 210 is that number on the Metropolitans. 8.5 is the total. Overs between even a minus 110. The unders between minus 110 to a minus 120. Made a total of an 8.1. So I do like the under. Now for Kodai Senga, it's been a no good, very bad, terrible start to the season, but there is reason for positivity. Last year, he did have a 3.02 ERA, albeit the fielding in the pen was darn near a point higher because he was giving out about 4 walks per 9 innings, but he's better than what he's shown thus far. I feel confident in that. 8.83 ERA, 2.1 home runs, 5.2 walks allowed per 9 innings. Now gets a face-off against the Rockies team that last year was averaging 2.8 runs per game away from home. Are they improved? Yes, 3.54 runs per game entering into the series, but that's still about 25th in the league in terms of road scoring. You've had TJ Romfield along Troy Johnson as the young guys both hit above 250, give you functional power. Hunter Goodman is back to give you 5+ home runs, hitting above 250, so he's been relatively solid for this unit as well. And Mickey Moniak, 8 home runs, hitting above a 300. He's starting to be able to live up to that high draft pick that he was many, many years ago, but now they're dealing with a little bit of an injury to Willie Castro and a few other ancillary guys. Meanwhile, for the Mets, they have been just rough with regards to their offense. Depending upon the day, they've either been last or second to last in the big leagues in terms of run scoring thus far this season. But now you get back Juan Soto, obviously had 43 home runs and darn near 400 on base last season. The likes of Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos sitting at 225. You need a bit more there. Carson Benjay, he had a home run earlier in the series, but man, it's been rough for them. Ronnie Mauricio, they're hoping that he has a little bit of upside. And Bo Bichette thus far has been a waste of money. Marcus Semien has been a waste of money. It's not been great, but Francisco Alvarez has been able to give you 4 home runs. He and Luis Torrens do a solid job moving the line. For the Mets, Luke Weaver just has been awful ever since coming on over to the Mets after he was really good with the Yankees. Devin Williams is just completely lost, but they've got Brooks Raley, Oscar Brisbane in the bullpen. Both of these guys, sub 3.25 ERAs last year. They've been rock solid this year. And for the Colorado Rockies, they upchucked that game on Thursday in a big way against the San Diego Padres, but it is very clear that this is a much improved bullpen. I know that Victor Vodnik was absolutely terrible in the back half of that game, but still, you look overall for the season, and Rockies do find themselves 11th in the league in terms of bullpen area at a 369. Zach Ognos has proven to be a little bit of a long guy. Antonio Senzatello is terrible, and I mean terrible. As he started, he's been giving you a sub 3 ERA. Brendan Bernardino was a nice pickup from the Red Sox and the Seattle Mariners. Jaden Hill, Juan Mejia, these guys had a sub 3.75 ERA last season. Rose Quintana, I actually do think that this guy is just relatively washed. Last season, he was supplying the Milwaukee Brewers with an ERA that was relatively respectable at about a 3.86, but that fielding dependent was more in the neighborhood, about a 4.81. He was not getting any strikeouts whatsoever. 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3.4 walks per 9, and now 2.1 home runs, 6.2 walks allowed per 9 innings, 6.3 ERA. I do think that struggling Mets lineup gets to him, and I think the Kodai Senga looks more like himself. I set the Mets run line here at a minus 116 right now. You're able to get that more around about a plus 105 to a plus 110. I'm going to be taking plus money on that Mets run line, and do like the 8.5 under, set my total at an 8.1. 905, 906 on the card. The Slam Diego Padres are on the road. They're facing off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Well, both teams are on the road because this is from Mexico City. Estadio Alfredo Harpelú, and Zach Gallen goes for the Diamondbacks. Woolback Elias Odoman Marquez is on the bump for the Padres. Total on this game is 15.5. The over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and right now with the Diamondbacks, they're between minus 110 to minus 120 favorites, even money to minus 104. That number on the Padres, I went 15.1 with this total. Like, if you've seen the Mexico City games from past years, this is a bandbox. Like, you think Coors Field is bad. This elevates offense probably by like 30 to 40% in comparison to Coors Field, to put it into comparison. That said, Zach Gallen has actually been okay thus far this season. He's not getting a lot of swings and misses, less than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I think that he can hold his own here. Respectable 3.45 ERA, 0.7 home runs, 2.5 walks allowed per 9 innings, and Padres have just struggled this year. Like, Fernando Tatis Jr. enters into the series with 0 home runs. Now, Gavin Sheets had that big home run against the Colorado Rockies, and he's now been able to give you a trio of bombs. Manny Machado has hit for a few home runs, but he's hitting below the middle line of a 200. Luis Campusano has been able to move the line, and I like what I've seen out of Ramon Laureano thus far. He's finding a way on. He's been able to give you like 3 or 4 home runs, hitting above a 250, and then Xander Bogaerts, who has been miserable since coming over from the Padres, not so miserable anymore. About a 290 average, 366 on base, so these guys have been solid, but I mean, it really has been an offense that has been a little bit lackadaisical. They've been saved by their pitching. Last year, they were number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They're back in the top 10 this season. Jason Adam, who began the season on the injured list, he's back. He, Brad Dudley, Rodriguez, along with the closer Mason Miller, all sub 2 ERA, and Miller is getting 19.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and it's not a lot of run. He has been rock solid. Even the like of David Morgan has been solid in the bullpen. They had to put Jeremiah Stroud on the injury list, and Adrian Morejon has been a little bit rough in the bullpen, but I do think that these guys are going to be able to lock it down. Problem is, Germán Marquez, even though he's got a 3.86 ERA, a 6 fielding independent, 5 home runs allowed in 18 and 2/3 innings, only getting about 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and while the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup has been down a little bit this season, they are coming off of a 2025 in which they were 4th in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Corbin Carroll has been able to do a nice job giving you a darn near 400 on base this season with functional power, and then you've got Ketel Marte, Nolan Arenado, who've got 4 home runs apiece. Eliarmo Vargas has been great for this team, by the way. 5 home runs and 70 at-bats. He's hitting well above a 350, so you'll love to be able to see that. But Alec Thomas hitting below the middle line of a 200. Geraldo Perdomo has been really having a nice come-up here over the last few games, about a 360 on base. They did have to place Gabriel Moreno on the injury list, but Adrian Del Castro, he's been able to step up, hit about a 260 for the team. Jose Fernandez is finding a way to be able to move the line. Diamondbacks not as much power as we've seen in past years, but I do think that they do a nice job getting to Marquez. I think that you get a lot of run scoring in this game, but I do think that they went just a little bit too far here, even though the Diamondbacks bullpen is not necessarily amazing. You do have Ryan Thompson, who had a sub-2 ERA last season. He's had a few ups and downs over the last few seasons. Juan Murillo's not a necessary guy that I'd like, but Jonathan Loáisiga, Taylor Clark, good pickups in the offseason, and Paul Sewald, he's had his ups and downs over the last few years. It's been okay this year. I set the Diamondbacks at a -134. I like them on the money line. Took the under as well. Semi-total at a 15.1. 9 of 7, 908 on the card. The Brewers are going to be playing against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Brad Keller goes for the Buccos, and the Miz, Jacob Izorowski, is on the bump for the Brewers. Brewers -130 to -140 favorites. +110 to a +120 is that number on Pittsburgh. 8 is the total. Over and under anywhere between -105 to a -115. And for the Miz, I set him at a -162. I'm going to be in on the Brewers on the money line. For Izorowski, obviously the walks are an issue for his career. A little bit over 4 walks per 9 innings, but the strikeout stuff is absolutely undeniable. Ever since he got called up to the big league level, 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings and up to 14.2 strikeouts per 9 innings as far this season. Has given up a little bit of the deep ball, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and the Pirates, after being dead sinking last in terms of offense last year, they're right now averaging 4.9 runs per game. That does go down to about 4.25 runs per game away from home, and with O'Neal Cruz, while he's gotten off to a really nice start to the season, I have to wonder how sustainable it is. Last year, he had at the Mendoza line of 200, entered into the series hitting about a 285 with 8 home runs. Brandon Lau has gotten loud, 7 home runs, hitting a 250. You've had Brian Reynolds on his for a ton of power, but he's back to moving the line, getting on base. Ryan O'Hearn was one of the more underrated ads in the offseason. Last year, 350 on base with the San Diego Padres and the Orioles. He's been hitting above 300 as well, but Colin Griffin, Henry Davis, the catcher spot, and they just have not been able to give you anything at the bottom of the fold. Meanwhile, for the Brewers, I don't know how or why, but I mean, they've dealt with so many injuries with likes of Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, Andrew Vaughn all being on the injury list. They just continue to find offense. Like, Garrett Mitchell is giving you right now like a 400 on base. Bryce Durang is finding a way to steal bags, move the line. William Contreras is hitting a 300. You've gotten 5 home runs out of Jake Bowers along Gary Sanchez. And for the Brewers, last year they were a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. It's been a little bit of a fall off this year with Trevor McGill not necessarily being sharp, but Grant Anderson, Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe, they're all coming off of having a sub 325 ERA last season. DL Tornado Paul has been a relatively good long guy. And for the Pirates, you don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez has been able to give you sub 3 ERA, but hard to trust in Gregory Soto at the closer spot. Justin Lawrence, last year sub 2 ERA, he has regressed. Dennis Santana continues to be relatively amazing, but for Mitch Keller, he's very consistent. He's had between a 4.15 to a 4.21 ERA each out of the last 3 seasons. He really doesn't give up the deep ball a ton, but we've noticed over the last few seasons, his strikeout stuff has really fallen. Last year, he had fewer than 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and thus far this season, 2.79 ERA, but again, he's down to 5.9 strikeouts, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. I just don't know if that's quite sustainable. Do think that the Brewers get to him just enough to be able to get the job done and the over. So I total 7.7, do like that over, and for the Brewers, willing to lay up to a -161 on that money line. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. The Phillies are on the road against the Braves. Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler is on the bump for the Phillies, and Bryce Elder hopes to not look elderly for the Atlanta Braves. Braves do find themselves between -120 to -126 favorites, and between -104 to a +105. That number on the Phillies, and 8.5 is the total. Over is -110 to a -115. Under is between -105 to a -110 if you're looking to lay run half right now with the Braves. You're finding that right around about plus 190 to plus $2. I set my Braves money line price at a minus 111. If I absolutely had to play it right now, I'd be looking either Braves run line or at the Phillies if they can get above a plus 110, but this number has come down significantly, and I think that it comes down even more. So I'm going to be in on the Braves in some form or capacity, most likely just taking a massive run line, because I do think that Zach Wheeler has a propensity to have some struggles here, because if you look at Zach Wheeler throughout his career, first 2 or 3 starts, he does typically get off to a little bit of a shaky start. And I mean, he was going through a lot with the clots and everything like that. So you do feel like, I mean, it's a great story and everything like that, but you have to wonder how close to 100% he is going to be. He made 5 minor league rehab starts, went a total of 20 innings. He supplied a 5.85 ERA. Now, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and looked much better in the later starts, but it's clear that he's probably not going to be able to give his full amount of workload that he typically does, and that leaves you vulnerable with the Phillies bullpen that's right now in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and is currently without their closer and one Mr. Yohan Duran. Jose Alvarado, ever since the drug suspension last year, has not been the same guy, over an 80 ERA. Tanner Banks is relatively solid in this bullpen, but Zach Pop, Jonathan Bolin being on the injury list is an issue. Ryan Kerkering, I like him in this bullpen. Brian Keller coming off of a career year, he's been a little bit shaky. I do think that the Phillies start to find it a little bit more on offense. Entered in the series actually last in the National League in terms of run creation on the road with about 3.3 runs per game away from home, but you have to expect that Trey Turner is hitting at 225. It's going to be able to find it a little bit more. Might be a down year for Alex Bohm, but I don't see him hitting a $151 for the entirety of the season. Bryson Stott is hitting like a 209. He's still been able to get good power out of Kyle Schwarber. 8 home runs, but staying below the Mendoza line, 200, albeit 342 on base. Bryce Harper is starting to find it, give you about a 350 on base. Brandon Marsh has been solid as well, hitting a 304 home runs. I like what I've seen there, and for the Atlanta Braves, this offense is just back. When they were at full force in 2023, 5.75 runs per game, that was leading the league, and I don't know if Matt Olson gets 50-plus home runs like he did that season, but how about 7 bombs going into the series, hitting for over a 355 on base. Drake Baldwin, 7 home runs, over a 390 on base. Ronald Acuna Jr. hasn't even done much. Entered the series hitting a 232 with 1 home run, so imagine when he gets rocking and rolling. Austin Riley, he's been coming off of injury. He's been a little bit rough as well. Imagine what happens when he gets it going. Michael Harris, 6 home runs, hitting above a 300. Dom Smith, 4 bombs, he's hitting above a 300. Mauricio Dubon is able to move the line, and this is a Braves bullpen that is currently in the top 5 in terms of ERA. Since Tyler Kinley has come on over from the Colorado Rockies in a Braves uniform, he's been able to supply a sub-3 ERA. Yoel Hyams has been a little bit miserable, but still, you've been able to have some good innings out of Robert Suarez, who comes over from the San Diego Padres. Dylan Lee, he has given up like 1 run thus far this season. He's been rock solid, and for Bryce Elder, he has really been able to find it thus far this season. I don't know how sustainable it is. 150 ERA through his first 5 starts of the season. Did look a little bit better towards the back half of the season last year. Right now, he's given up 2 home runs over the course of 30 innings, and he's cut down on the walks as well. Sub-3 walks per 9 innings, 2.7 walks, nearly 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. I do think that the Braves should be a little bit of a favorite here. I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 110 on that money line, but right now, seeing that Mondo run line price, I'm looking to take a shot there. Did somebody solid at 8.2 as well. I do think that Elder is for real, and think that the Phillies continue to struggle with their offense on the road, so looking at that 8.5 to the under. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Chicago Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the LA Dodgers, as Hiroki Sasaki is on the bump for the Dodgers. Colin Ray says hip hip hooray to another start. Dodgers are between minus 150 to minus 155 favorites, plus 130 to plus 135. That number on Chicago, 9.5 is the total. Under is minus 115 to minus 120. The over is between even to minus 105, and the Dodgers run line price is a plus 135, and I am very willing to take that. I felt like the Dodgers should be laying a price on the run line. For Hiroki Sasaki, I recognize that things are all over the place for him right now. Ever since he got to the big league level, he has been supplying over 5 walks per 9 innings, and it's not necessarily been the most savory of starts to the season for him, but he still has relatively good swing and miss stuff. We saw what he was able to do in the postseason last year. I do think that he's going to be able to find it sooner rather than later, and he does face off against a Chicago Cubs lineup that has had some misses in the lineup. Like, I recognize that Michael Busch has looked a little bit better here over the last week or so, but still hitting below 225. He's not where he was a season ago for the Chicago Cubs overall for the season. This is a unit that has found themselves second in the big leagues in terms of run creation. A lot of that was with the wind blowing out in Wrigley field, though, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to be sustainable for the entirety of the season. On top of that, for the LA Dodgers, even though they've got Edwin Diaz currently on the injured list, I do think that this is a bullpen that's, when it's all said and done, it's going to be one of the best in all of baseball. Edgardo Enriquez, I think, has a little bit of upside. Jack Dreher, Alex Vesia had sub-325 ERAs last year. Tanner Scott is looking like the guy that was one of the top relievers in all of baseball a few seasons ago. Blake Tryon looking a little bit cooked, but overall, do like this bullpen. And for the LA Dodgers, very surprisingly, they've actually been scoring far less when they've been at home rather than away from home. Going into the series, about 4.4 runs per game at home, nearly 6.5 runs per game away from home. I do think that that's going to start to iron out a little bit more, as you've got just so many guys that are launching for the scene. Max Muncy, 8 home runs. He's been able to fly over 350 on base. Kyle Tucker, he's been off to a little bit of shaky start, hitting about a 250 with 3 home runs. You know that that's going to be going northward. Freddie Freeman, not necessarily hitting the deep ball, but a 365 on base. Shohei Ohtani, 365 on base, 5 home runs. Teoscar Hernandez, he's been able to do a solid job giving you 4 bombs. You've got Will Smith getting jiggy with it. He's been able to give you some homers, 340 on base. The list goes on and on. Miguel Rojas, over a 400 on base. Hyesung Kim, same goes for him as well. And for the Chicago Cubs, it's been Pete Armstrong really letting them down. I mean, man, this guy's had a massive fall off since that beginning part of the season last year. You've had Nico Horner do a good job hitting above a 300. Ian Happ has been able to give you 7 home runs. And Dansby Swanson's hitting for power, but he's not really hitting for average whatsoever. It is a Cubs bullpen that, man, they are dealing with some injuries right now. Porter Hodge's season is done. Phil Matone, Hunter Harvey, Daniel Palencia, all these guys are on the injury list. Caleb Theobar is now dealing with a little bit of injury. We'll say for Colin Ray, he's got a 3 ERA right now. This is not a guy that's going to go out there and get you a bunch of strikeouts. His strikeouts per 9 rate last year was less than 7.5. Has been a little bit better this year. 20 strikeouts in 24 innings. Like, that's presentable. And he does a good job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. He has given up just 2 home runs as far as the season. His walks per 9 rate is down below 2.5 once again, and he's been able to really do a good job in terms of honing in on his command. Last few seasons, last year, 2.5 walks, 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but a little bit of a soft-tossing guy at 35 years old, and I do think that the Dodgers do get to him and do get the job done here. With the Dodgers, I was willing to take pretty much even money or better on the run line, so looking at the run line, it's up by total 9.2, so on the 9.5, do like the under. 9.13, 9.14 on the card. The Guardians are on the road against the Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman goes for the Jays. Joey Cantillo is on the bump for the Guardians, and the Guardians do find themselves as a pretty sizable underdog here, between plus 118 to a plus 120. Meanwhile, minus 138 to a minus 145 is that number on Toronto. Mostly seeing 8s out there. With the 8, the under is minus 115, the over is minus 105. Few straight 7.5s, the over juice minus 125, under is plus 105. Semi total 7.7. I personally would rather have an 8 under rather than a 7.5 over. Recognize that the Guardians are currently actually a bottom 12 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I do think that that's going to be turning around a little bit. They were dealing with a few injuries, with Hunter Gaddis being on the injury list to begin the season. Now, I'm not necessarily a Matthew Festa stand. I don't think that he's really going to find it, but Cade Smith has been miserable in that bullpen. He traditionally is a relatively solid bullpen piece. They did lose Jacob Junis in the offseason, but I still have faith in Eric Sobrowski. He's been able to do a solid job for the team thus far this season, and Guardians remain a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. Jay Slaughter had like 5 home runs in the first 5 or so games of the season and entered in the series, still stuck on 5 home runs. Now, Jose Ramirez starting to find it, 6 home runs. He's now been able to give you over 340 on base, but there's still a lot of guys that just aren't moving the line. Bo Naylor hitting below a $150. Kyle Manzardo, less than a 200 with 1 home run entering into the series. Reese Hoskins has not given you any power whatsoever, so you've had issues there. Brian Rocchio is actually hitting a 270, and Daniel Sheeman, he's been able to find a way on base. So those guys have been some nice finds for the Blue Jays. They've been dealing with an injury to George Springer. That's been less than tremendous. Vlad Jr., just 2 home runs entering in the series, but he could taste it for over a 4-hour base. Like Dalton Varsho, Jesus Sanchez, these guys hang above at 260. Alonso Andres Jimenez are finding a way to move the line, but for the Blue Jays, they just have been down with their power as well, especially with don't call his name, Alexander Kirk being on the injury list as well. It is a Blue Jays bullpen that's dealing with some injuries as well. Yimi Garcia being on the injury list has been less than savory. They had to remove Jeff Hoffman from the closer role, rightfully so. Louis Varland, Tyler Rogers, both giving you sub 325 ERA. They're much better. Heck, even Braden Smith is better. Mason Fluharty, though, he's had his issues as well, well north of a 5 ERA this far this season, but I do think that both of these starting pitchers are going to be able to give you a really good outing here. For Joey Cantillo, can he be a little bit wild with the command? Absolutely. Last year, about 4 walks per 9 innings. This year, 4.3 walks per 9 innings, but 10 point strikeouts per 9 innings, 320 ERA, 386 fielding independent. I really like what I've seen from him over the last year or so. And then for Kevin Gausman, steady as they come, 254 ERA, fielding independent is right around about at 223. He just has not allowed hard contact this year. 0.6 home runs, 1.9 walks per 9 innings, and the swing and miss stuff is back. Last 2 years, less than 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 11.1 punch outs per 9, and that has me trusting in the Blue Jays Jays in this spot. I did set the Blue Jays at a minus 149. Don't want the run line, but I want the money line, so I told 7.7, so on the 8, like the under. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The Red Sox are on the road against the Orioles. Trevor Rogers is in the neighborhood for the Orioles, and Garrett Crochet is on the bump for Boston. Boston is a very slim underdog here, between minus 104 to a minus 110. Meanwhile, minus 110 to a minus 115 is that number on Baltimore. 8 is a total over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. I made a total of a 7.2. I do like the under. The Red Sox lineup just has not been able to find it this year, and I knew that they were probably going to take a little bit of a setback this season with losing Alex Bregman and company, but they entered into the series 26th in the big leagues, averaging about 3.7 runs per game. That's a little bit less than savory. Now, Wilder Abreu has piled out, trio of home runs. He's made with well above 250, and Wilson Contreras has been a solid ad, just below 400 on base. He's been able to give you functional power, so these guys have not been the problem. The problem has been the infield. Trevor Story is notoriously a slow starter, but he, along with Caleb Durbin, both hitting below the Bedell's line of a 200, has been a massive issue. Jaron Turin, he is obviously an outfielder, but he has not been able to find a way to move lines. So Don Rafael's been fine. He's been able to give you about a 340 on base. Masataka Yoshida, not a power guy, but he's finding a way on as well. But for the Red Sox, they're just not producing runs right now. And for the Orioles, they do get Adley Rutschman off the injured list. Hasn't hit for power, but he's hitting well above a 300. That's more than what could be said for Pete Alonso, entered in the series, hitting about a 220 with 3 home runs. He's been a massive disappointment. Gunnar Anderson is hitting for no average whatsoever, but hey, 7 home runs, you're going to accept that. You do need some of these young guys like Kobe Mayo, Samuel Basayo, Dylan Beavers entering into the series, all with less than a 300 on base, all with less than a 230 batting average to pick it up, because Jeremiah Jackson is right now carrying the team. 5 home runs over the last 17 days. He has been rock solid. And for the Orioles, the bullpen looks much improved from where it was a season ago. Last year, they were 25th in bullpen ERA. Ryan Helsley, I don't know if he's quite back to being peak Ryan Helsley, but he's been solid now. He's probably going to be out for this game. It looks like they just placed him on the bereavement list prior to that game on Friday, so I had to make a small tweak there. But Rico Garcia, Uncle Rico's been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Yunier Cano, don't you know this guy's been rock solid. Andrew Kittredge has dealt with injury. They've got him back, and Anthony Nunez has been a good find in the bullpen. And then for the Red Sox, last year they were numero dos in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Recognize that they lost a piece or two from a season ago, but Greg Weiser, Garrett Woodlock, sub 325 ERAs from a season ago. They picked up Danny Kaluma at a sub 350 ERA with the Orioles along with the Rangers. Aroldis Chapman has been amazing at the closer spot, and we've got 2 starters that have had some recent struggles I do think are going to be able to find it once again. Trevor Rogers last year, he posted up that absolutely insane 181 ERA with a half home run, 2.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. That's up to a 408 this season. I thought there was going to be a little bit of regression there, but he does a good job drawing soft contact, is still not necessarily drawing a lot of walks or anything like that. Meanwhile, for Garrett Crochet, 7.88 ERA, 5+ runs allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts. There have been a few unearned runs along the way, and he's still getting swing and miss stuff. Last year, 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. When he supplied a 259 ERA, he's getting 11.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. 498 fielding dependent, being 3 points lower than the ERA. Points towards positivity, and this is ultimately a trusting Garrett Crochet spot for me. So I did set the Red Sox at a minus 138. I'm going to be willing to take the Red Sox here on the money line. Somebody total of 7.2. So at the 8, I'm going to be in on the under. 9:17, 9:18 on the card. You've got the Tampa Bay Rays, and they're going to be playing those Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober is on the bump for the Twins. Shane McClanahan is on the bump for the Rays, and the Hot Jaw Rays found themselves between minus 126 to a minus 131 favorite, plus 108 to a plus 115 is that number on Minnesota. 8 is the total. Over is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 110 to a minus 105, and with the Rays, set them at a minus 149. I do like them on the money line. Shane McClanahan, obviously coming off of missing both the 2024 and 25 season. Is he peak Shane McClanahan? No, but he hasn't been bad. I feel like he's pitched much better than the 5 ERA would indicate. 375 fielding dependent. The walks are an issue. 5.5 walks per 9 innings, but 0.5 home runs, 9 strikeouts per 9. That's pretty solid. He's backed up by a lineup that is currently averaging 4.8 runs per game. Twins enter in the series averaging above 5 runs per game. There's just certain things that are not sustainable, though, and I think that the Twins supplying the offense that they have has not been. Now, Byron Buxton, after a rough start to the season, he's gotten his head out of his rear. He's been able to give you 5 home runs, so it looks like he's going to be able to continue to produce for the team. And I will say, out there in the outfield, Austin Martin has been hitting well above a 300. It looks like he's going to be a solid find. Royce Lewis, over the last few seasons, has been either banged up or ineffective when he's been out there on the field. Matt Wallner, Cody Clemens, both had 20-plus home runs last year, but both had less than a 225. Both entered in the series hitting less than a 200. Tristan Gray, Gray, Brooks Lee. I don't know if these guys are going to be able to keep it going, but for the Rays, I do think that they will, because Chandler Simpson is one of the better base stealers in all baseball, hitting above 300. Yandy Diaz, he's right now supplying about a 425 on base with functional power. Johnny DeLuca, Nick Fortes, hitting above a 275 has been solid. Taylor Walls has regressed a little bit, but Jonathan Aranda last year at above a 300, entered into yesterday hitting less at a 225. That's going to go northward. And Junior Caminero, 44 home runs last season. He's been able to find that power ball once again. For the Rays, they're currently a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I think that improves. They've still got Garrett Clevenger on the injured list, but they're getting healthier in the bullpen. The former Orioles, Brian Baker, Cole Souls are both above a 350 ERA. That should improve. I have no faith whatsoever in Griffin Jacks, but Hunter Biggie last year was solid. He's been a little bit rocky to begin the season, and for the Twins, this is also a very rocky bullpen. They traded away like their entire bullpen at the trade deadline last season. Cody Funderburk, fresh off the paternity list. Congratulations to him. He's been able to give this team a sub-3 ERA, so that helps him out a little bit, but Justin Topa was giving you like a 4 ERA last year. Cole Sands, a little bit up and down, and Anthony Banda, since coming over from the Dodgers, man, not been great to say the least. Eric Rorsay, Taylor Rogers, both of these guys have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA over the last 2 years, so those guys are relatively solid. And then for Bailey Ober, he's coming off of that disaster last year where he was giving up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings, 5.10 ERA. He's been able to do a better job this year, 4.15 ERA. He's given up less than home run per 9 innings, but career high 3.1 walks per 9 innings. He's just not necessarily a guy that I trust in here, so I did set the Rays at a minus 149. Do like them on the money line. Think that the Twins see regression on offense up by total 7.8, so on the 8, do like the under. 919, 920 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Rangers. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for the Rangers. Jeffrey Springs is on the bump for the A's. The Athletics do find themselves between plus 120 to plus $125. Minus 145 to minus 150 is that number on Texas. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110 for the Rangers. Made them a minus 157 favorite. I'm going to be one to trust in them on the money line. Now for Jeffrey Springs, he has been very solid thus far this season. Had that one shaky start like 2 starts ago, but overall he's been able to do his part, and he, much like many of these pitchers for the Sacramento A's, they have been far more effective when they have been away from home rather than at home. You go back to what we saw during the 2025 campaign when Jeffrey Springs overall was posting up an ERA that was more in that neighborhood, about a 4.11. On the road, 3.45 ERA, was giving up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. At home, over 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 4.81 ERA, so does have some pretty big splits there. And then for Mackenzie Gore, 4.15 ERA thus far, 4.45 fielding dependent, coming off of a season last year where he was getting 10.4 strikeouts but 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's right now allowing 1.7 home runs per 9. I think that this Arlington ballpark is going to help him out. If you look at ballpark factors since the beginning of the 2025 campaign, Arlington, a top 5 ballpark in terms of suppressing offense, and for the Rangers, it's been rough for their offense. While Langford has been able to find it a little bit more since the shaky start to the season, but hasn't been able to apply a lot of power. Now, you've been able to actually get quite a bit of power out of Corey Seager this fire, 5+ home runs, but he's sitting right around the mid-dose line of 200, so that's been a little bit of an issue. Do have Josh Young moving the line. He and Brandon Nimmo are hitting about a 300 to begin the season, and they're looking to the young gun and Alejandro, don't call his name, Ozuna, to be able to give you a little bit more, but Jock Peterson has been a disappointment since coming to town. Jake Berger, 5 home runs, but he's one of the streakiest hitters in all baseball. Catcher spot with Kyle Higashioka. Couple with Danny Jansen has been a little bit hit or miss as well. And then for the Athletics, Shea Langoliers, 8 home runs at a 300 average as far this season. He has been magnificent. Jeff McNeil, Jacob Wilson, these guys are not hitting for power, but both hitting above a 275. Nick Kurtz, after a really rough start to the season, is starting to find it. But Tyler Soderstrom, after he had that nice start to the year last year, struggled towards the back half last year. He's been having his ups and downs thus far this season, and it's a Sacramento team that they have very much benefited from playing at home thus far this season. 5.1 runs per game at home, 3.7 runs per game away from home, and it's just not a very trustworthy bullpen. Justin Cerner, Elvis Alvarado last year at a 4 ERA. I have no idea what Mark Leiter Jr. is doing on an MLB roster. Scott Barlow looks a little bit washed, and the Rangers last year were a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA, and they've really been able to do a great job with this bullpen thus far. Here in 2026, right now, they do find themselves, depending upon the day, either second or third in terms of bullpen ERA with Jacob Latz, who's a really good long guy, giving you a sub-325 ERA. Tyler Alexander, Jalen Beeks, they don't necessarily have the lowest ERA, but Cole Winn, sub-2 ERA last year. Jacob Junis, sub-3 ERA with Guardians. Do think that the Rangers go out there, get the job done here. Did some line at a minus 157. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 156 on that Rangers money line, going a little bit chalky there, and I did set my total here at a 7.7. I do think that the Athletics picked up a little bit more with their offense away from home. So looking at the 7.5 over and the Rangers money line, 921, 922 on the card. The Angels are on the road against the Royals as Cole Ragans goes for the Royals, while Barry Orena is on the bump for the Angels. Angels do find themselves as underdogs anywhere between plus 126 to plus 135, minus 148 to minus 160. That number on the Royals, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. Set my money line price at a minus 152. So I'm going to be willing to take that minus 148, minus 150 with the Royals. Cole Ragans has fallen off the face of planet Earth ever since that year last year where the ERA and the fielding independent just absolutely did not match up for him. Last year he was posting up a 4.67 ERA, but a 2.50 fielding independent, 14.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, gave up 1 home run per 9 this year, 6 ERA, 7.34 fielding independent, giving up 2.5 home runs, 7.7 walks per 9 innings. I do think that he's going to be able to find it a little bit more. He had given up 3 earned runs or fewer in his previous 3 starts before getting absolutely mollywopped against the New York Yankees. He's been pretty solid at home over the last few seasons, so I do think that that's going to be a welcome sign for him. And you've got an Angels lineup that can be a little bit hit or miss. To have Joe Adele setting fire to the rain with 3 home runs, and he's robbed 3 home runs himself, so he's been able to do a great job there. Obviously, Mike Trout has been on a tear when he's been away from home, having those 4 home runs in the 4 games against the New York Yankees. That was just absolutely magnificent for him. You've had Zach Neto be able to give you 5 home runs, and you do have more guys moving the line. Ori Soler is finally finding a way to be able to get on base, unlike last season when he was unable to do so. Now, I just have no faith whatsoever in the likes of Logan O'Hoppe and company, but even as well, Peraza has been able to give you a little bit of something in the lineup. Nolan Schuno finds a way on. Meanwhile, for the Royals, this has been an offense that's just been absolutely anemic this far this season. Right now, 28th in the league with about 3.5 runs per game. They've been better at home because they moved the fences in, but Bobby Wood Jr. right now stuck on 0 home runs. I will say he and Nick Lofton both hitting above 200. Jack Caglione has not provided offense, but he has been able to give you over 325 on base. You just need more out of Salvador Perez along with Vinny Pasquantino. Both of these guys have given you 3 home runs and a sub 185 batting average. They are right now dealing with an injury to Miguel Garcia. He's one of their more consistent guys finding a way on base. They have Jonathan India on the injury list, which honestly, that's not a bad thing for this team. And the big thing for the Royals, they've actually been dead stinking last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. That has to go up. I mean, Lucas Erceg, I know that he's had command issues, but he's a relatively good reliever. Daniel Lynch, sub 325 ERA as a long guy. Alex Lang has been miserable this year. He was solid last year. Matt Strom comes over after he had a sub 350 ERA last year with the Philadelphia Phillies. And then on the other end, the Angels are improved with the bullpen. Drew Pomeranz had a sub 350 ERA last season with the Chicago Cubs. They're currently still dealing with injuries to Kirby Yates, Ben Joyce, and I don't trust in Ryan Zephyrion whatsoever, but Chase Silseth, he has a sub 350 ERA. He's been able to find it in the bullpen. Jordan Romano is just absolutely terrible, though, and I think that that could be a bit costly here because with Welber Urena, he's a nice young prospect here for the Angels. You just have to wonder if he's going to be able to give you, just shall we say, strong innings this season because he's only won 7 2/3 innings in his 3 total appearances because he gets strikeouts, 11.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but also was giving up down near 6 walks per 9 innings in that small sample size as well. You take a look at what he did at the minor league level last year. He was posting up a 4.34 ERA, but 4.7 walks per 9 innings, so that means bullpen exposure, and I do think that that allows the Royals to get the job done. Willing to lay up to minus 151 on the Royals money line. Somebody told it at 8.8, so right now at the 8.5, do like the over. 923, 924 on the card. It's the Yankees. They're going to be on the road against the Houston Astros. Mike Burrows is on the bump for the Astros, and Ryan Weathers goes for the Yankees. Yankees are a favorite here between minus 140 to minus 150, plus 120 to plus 130 is that number on Houston. 9 is the total, over is minus 110 to minus 120, under is between even and minus 110, and for the Yankees, I did set them on the money line here at a minus 141. So minus 140 is an absolute max lay, but I'm going to be willing to lay it with the Astros. I just have absolutely no faith in this pitching staff whatsoever. With Josh Hader currently on the injury list, I know that Bennett Sosa has been dealing with a few injuries as well. They're just right now 29th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. They do get back on Yel de Los Santos, who was a little bit banged up to begin the season, and he's been able to give you a sub 325 ERA, but AJ Blueball in the bullpen has been giving you over a 5 ERA. Brian Abreu, after a good year last year, he's been absolutely terrible. Now, the Astros are doing a great job in terms of slugging it out. They entered into the series 5th in the league, averaging about 5.3 runs per game. Yordan Alvarez, his 11 home runs entering into the series. That leads all of baseball. Jose Altuve still finds a way to be able to move the line. He's giving you over a 350 on base. Carlos Correa, not a lot of power, but he's been able to give you well above a 330 on base. Isaac Paredes has had a little bit of a down season, and you've had a few of the ancillary outfielders, not necessarily amazing, but Liam Smith has looked a little bit better this year. Christian Walker, 5 home runs over a 340 on base. So these guys have been solid. And after a little bit of slow start to the season for the Yankees, feels like they're starting to be able to pick things up. Some of the infielders have just been rough. Like the entirety of the catcher spot is not hitting for this team. Ryan McMahon, Jazz Chisholm hitting below the Bedell side of 200. Trent Grisham going to the outfield. He's been hitting below 200 as well. But Ben Rice, 8 home runs hitting above 300. Aaron Judge is a little bit down with the on base, but he's been able to give you 9 home runs. Cody Bellinger is moving the line. Like what those guys are able to bring to the table. And for the New York Yankees, you got the likes of Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hendrick that supplied a sub 325 ERA in the bullpen last year. They've been to this point about a league average bullpen this season. Camilo Doval, David Benner were pickups at the trade deadline that have been a little bit hit or miss, but I think that those are going to pan out for them. And then with regards to Mr. Ryan Weathers, he did have a career high about 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings last season. Was giving up the deep ball last season with over 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. Thus far this season with the Yankees, about a 3.180 ERA. Fielding dependent is in that neighborhood, about a 3.29, so it's been sustainable. He does have an issue giving up the 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but he's up to now 11.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. I have a lot more faith in him than Mike Burrows, who he wasn't bad with the Pittsburgh Pirates last year. He was getting about a 3.97 ERA. Fielding dependent was right in that neighborhood, about a 4, but I mean right now he's getting a 6.75 ERA, 3 walks, 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, so I do think that the Yankees get to him good. So by total 9.3, so do like the 9 overhand for the Yankees, willing to lay up to minus 140 on the money line. 925, 926 on the card. The Seattle Mariners are on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Matthew Liberatore is on the bump for the Cards, and Brian Wu says woohoo to another start for the Mariners. They're between minus 145 to minus 152 favorites, plus 122 to a plus 130 is the number on St. Louis. 8 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 120. The over is between even and minus 110. Did set the Mariners at a minus 133 on the money line. If you're looking to lay a run half right now with them, you're getting that right around about a plus 110 to a plus 115. I would need at least a plus 130. And for taking a shot here on the St. Louis Cardinals money line, if we could get to a plus 134, which when it comes to the dime lines, I think we should be able to get there. I think I should be able to get a plus 135. We'll be looking there. Worst comes to worst, I'd be able to get a run half at a minus 130, and I'd be willing to take that. So I'll be in on the Cardinals in some form or capacity, even though Brian Wu, he was really good last year. He was supplying a sub 3 ERA, and with Brian Wu, he does a really good job in terms of not hurting himself. Last year, 1.7 walks per 9 innings. Thus far this season, 1.7 walks per 9 innings. And last year, he did have an issue with the deep ball, 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Through 5 starts, 32 innings. Has yet to give up one this year. I do think that that's in for a little bit of regression because his swing and miss stuff has been down to about 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Meanwhile, Matthew Liberatore, this is not a guy that's necessarily going to be some sort of strikeout artist or anything like that. For the Cardinals right now, is supplying a 3.67 ERA. He's strikeouts per 9 rate down to 5.3 after it was 7.2 a season ago, but he does a good job keeping things out in front of him. Career 1.1 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings. Now, for the Cardinals, this is a bullpen that is not great. Matt Savanson over a 5 ERA. Ryan Stanek is just completely washed. I have absolutely no faith in George Soriano as a long guy. I like Jojo Romero in the bullpen. That's about all I like, but it's a Cardinals team that has really been able to rise up in terms of their offense. They entered into the series hitting for about 4.7 runs per game, and the Seattle Mariners, who averaged over 5 runs per game away from home last year, dead second last with 2.44 runs per game. That is going to be seeing an upward tick, even with Brendan Donovan being on the injury list. Big dumper Cal Raleigh. He entered the series with 5 home runs. That just continues to go northward. Luke Raley has been one of your nice surprises. He and Randy Arozarena both hitting above a 285. Raley has been able to give you 5 home runs, and Tom Canzone, 3 home runs, doing a good job finding way on base, hitting at 260. Julio Rodriguez, a perennially slow starter. He's only got 1 home run, but he's starting to find a way on base once again. Same goes for Josh Naylor after his miserable start to the season. And for the Cardinals, Ivan Herrera is only hitting at 230, but over at 340 on base. J.J. Weatherall, he's hitting less than a 225, but again, the on base percentage has been solid. Jordan Walker's been great, 8 home runs, hitting above a 285. You got Alec Burleson, who's finding a way on with over a 350 on base. And I do think that you have to have a few question marks with the Mariners in the back half of the bullpen, because traditionally, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, one of the best 8th and 9th inning duos in all baseball, but Munoz has been really shaky to start the season. Now you've got Edward Bizardo, Gabe Spire, a pair of guys that were able to give you a sub-3 ERA in the bullpen last year, but now they're having to trot out there a little bit of Cooper Criswell. Cole Wilcox has not necessarily been amazing in the bullpen as well, so I do think that the Cardinals can get to them a little bit. Do you think that this is going to be a bit of a lower scoring game? I did set my total at a 7.7, so on the like the under end for the Cardinals, whether that be getting a run half at a minus 130 or a plus 134 or better, going to be taking a shot on them, whether that be getting a run half on the run line or the money line. 927, 928 on the card. The Nationals are going to be on the road against the Chicago White Sox. Noah Schultz is on the bump for the Southsiders. Jake Irvin goes for Washington. Washington is a underdog between plus 115 to a plus 120, minus 136 to a minus 143 is that number on the White Sox. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5 over its minus 125. The under is plus 105, and on the 9, over and under any between minus 105 to a minus 115. set the White Sox at a minus 138. So right now, seeing that minus 136, really wouldn't want to go past that, but I'm going to be willing to trust in them on the money line. There's just no trusting in Jake Irvin. I wish I could put it any other way. A nice hearty 5.70 ERA with 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings last year. Back it up right where he left off. 6 ERA, 1.5 home runs, 4.1 walks allowed per 9 innings this season. And for the Washington Nationals, they were last year dead stinking last in terms of bullpen ERA. They're not dead last this year, but they're back in the bottom 8. PJ Poole, the opener from yesterday, has actually been halfway decent for this team, but Clayton Beater provides well north of a 4 ERA. You can't trust in the likes of Ciano, Perez and company. They had to trade away Kyle Finnegan at the trade deadline last season, and not like the White Sox are any better. They're in the bottom 5 in terms of bullpen ERA because you've got, not even kidding here, Sir Anthony Dominguez as your closer. That is very much not a place where you want to be. You've had a few okay innings out of Sean Newcomb, but he's not a guy that I trust in whatsoever. Jordan Leisure, we know what he is. He's going to provide over a 4 ERA. You just don't have any reliability there other than the opener in Gavin Taylor in a lot of games. And for the White Sox, they're starting to pick it up a little bit with the offense, but it's been a bit all or nothing. They're a top 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. They're a team that is hitting a 224 as a collective going into the season. Like Mutaka Murakami, out of his 22 hits thus far this season, 10 of them have been home runs. He's giving you about a 390 on base, but then you got Miguel Vargas, Edgar Quiero, Luanel Acuna, only below the Bedell sign of 200. Austin Hayes being on the injured list to start the team a little bit. Like what I'm seeing out of Everson Pierre, hitting at 271, 3 home runs. That's been solid. Colson Montgomery, he's up to 7 bombs as well. Again, can be a little bit all or nothing. And Andrew Benintendi did have a home run earlier in the week, but he's been off to a little bit of a slow start. And for the Washington Nationals, they have been slugging their way to victory. This team is in the top 3 in terms of run creation. James Wood, 10 home runs with a 400 on base going into this series. CJ Abrams hitting for over a 400 on base. He's been able to give you 7 home runs. Outside those 2 guys, you don't get a lot of power, but I mean, you've got guys that are finding way on base. Alan Lyles hitting just below a 300. You've had Jobert Vivas, the young infielder, hitting about a 300 for the team. Joey Weimer, the bats are limited, but he's finding a way to be able to move line. Even someone like Jacob Young has been able to find a way on, but I do think that this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Do trust in Nolan Schultz a little bit more. For Schultz, this is his 3rd career start, 3.86 ERA. Do have to have a little bit of trepidation with the command. Even at the minor league level last year, he was giving up a lot of walks. He was giving up over 4 walks per 9 innings there right now at the big league level, 4.8 walks per 9, but it's clear that he's got good swing and miss stuff. Trust in him more than Jake Irvin, so I'm willing to lay up to minus 137 on the White Sox money line. Made my total 9.7, so I'm in on the over and wrap things up with 929, 930. The Tigers are on the road against the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. He's on to Brady Singer, hoping to have the Tigers singing the blues, and Captain Jack Flaherty's on the bump for Detroit. This is a pick'em game. Both teams are between minus 108 to minus 110 on the money line with a total between 9 to a 9.5. On the 9, over is minus 120, the under is even. On the 9.5, under is minus 115 to minus 125. Over is between plus 105 to minus 105, and I do like this total to the under. I did set my total at an 8.6. For the Reds, they're averaging only about 3.6 runs per game at home. I think that that'll see a positive tick up. You've got a guy in Eugenio Suarez that last season was hitting for 49 home runs. He was absolutely amazing at his stops. Cousin Sal Stewart is sitting at 300. He's been able to give you good power. Ellie De La Cruz, 6+ home runs thus far this season. So I do think that that goes northward, but still, it has been a little bit hit or miss with regards to the lineup because you've got a lot of guys like a Spencer Steer that's not finding way on. Reese Hines, Brian Hayes going into yesterday hitting below $125. Tyler Stevenson hitting below $175. Nathan Lowe has not been able to give you too much. So there's been a lot of issues there. I do like Dave Myers, what he's been able to provide. Now, what is helping out the Cincinnati Reds, the fact that they are numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA. I don't know how, considering Emilio Pagan is their closer, but Tony Santillan, Graham Ashcraft, sub 3 ERAs. Pierce Johnson with the Braves, he was solid last year. Brock and Roll Burke with the Angels was solid. Both of these guys, sub 3.25 ERAs. And then you got Connor Phillips, who's been able to come in there, hold down the fort. And for the Tigers, bullpen madness was big for them in 2024. We've seen a little bit of a fall since then, but Tyler Holton, Brian Herter, Will Vest, all had a sub 350 ERA last season. Kyle Finnegan, since coming on over from the Washington Nationals, has been able to give this team a sub 3 ERA as well. And for the Tigers, this has been a little bit of a herky-jerk hit or miss offense as well. Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green just not providing the power that they did a season ago. 2 home runs apiece entering into the series. Now, Green's doing a great job finding way on base. Darn near 400 on base along Kevin McGonigal, but Torkelson, even though he has a 330 on base entering into the series, hitting just a $192, that's a bit of an issue. Gary Carpenter, 5 home runs runs in 66 at-bats, but hitting for just a 215. You expect a little bit more there. The platoon guys like Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry haven't given you a ton, and recognize that Javi Baez doesn't draw walks, but at the very least, he's made with about a 280 for this team as well. And for Jack Flaherty, last year, he was posting up an ERA well above a 4. He was giving up the deep out quite a bit with about 1.3, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, but it was very clear that the swing and miss stuff was still there last season. In terms of strikeouts per 9 rate, he was at about a 10.5. This year, down to about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, and the 7.7 walks per 9 innings is an issue, but he's looked a little bit better. 3.47 ERA. The 4.60 fielding dependence are a result of the walks, but I do feel like he's backed up by a better bullpen than what the numbers would indicate right now. And for Brady Singer, he had a little bit of command issues last season, and he's been a little bit better this season. 2.7 walks per 9 innings. I feel like he's pitched better than that 5.32 ERA would indicate. 4.58 fielding dependent, about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. So with the Tigers, I do think that they have the leg up here. Set them at a minus 116 on the money line, so I'm going to be willing to take the Tigers on this pick-em line. I do like the under, so I told it at 8.6, and that'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Jon Jansen. He does great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler. He's doing a great job holding it down out there. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, literacy on the mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is buying an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis, not every single game, every single day, so I'll be back with you once you get them out. Thank you.